Hi, welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Tina Howard, and I have a really fun guest this week. I have John O'Neill and Bobby Boucher. And I'm really glad y'all came here today.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Well, I will disclose first, Bobby and John are friends of mine, and I enjoy talking with them every time we're anywhere. And so when I started doing this kind of show, I said to them, maybe y'all could come on and talk with me. And they said, well, we really don't have anything to say. No, these are two of the most interesting people you could possibly know. So we're going to dig in, and we're going to start with John. Neither John nor Bobby were born in Hart County.
Right.
So we're going to have to go way back. We didn't know them from cradle.
Way
back. Okay, John, I'm going to start with you because you're on the left.
Okay. Well, I'm John O'Neill, and I was born in Queens Memorial Hospital.
And if you didn't know that wasn't around here,
Born
There's no office.
in New York City.
York City.
Where they make that good salsa. So I was born there in 1951, and I lived in a 2-bedroom small apartment with my parents in Glen Oaks, Long Island, until 1955, when my father decided that he wanted to buy a house out in the first subdivision in America.
Wait, what's it called?
Levittown.
I was going to say Levittown.
There's a Levittown, Long Island, and a Levittown, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Levittown, Long Island was first, and he bought a low-income house.
But now that was the that was the ideal beginning suburb neighborhood ever, right? That was the neighborhood plan. It wasn't just a house.
Very cookie cutter. Everybody got a 1/4 acre house with 2 apple trees, 2 peach trees, and 1 maple tree.
Really?
2 bedrooms, 1 small bathroom, 1 small living room, and a kitchen.
How many kids in that house?
Well, at the end, there was 5 kids and 2 adults, but as they expanded their family, we expanded the house.
Sure.
So we built up and we built out.
In the same neighborhood?
On the same 1/4 acre, we wound up with a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house.
That was a big house.
With a swimming pool in the backyard.
So everybody was at your house?
Everybody was at my house.
So what was it like to grow up in a neighborhood like that? Because you had kids everywhere probably.
The people who had been coming back from World War II and the Korean War moved out there, and of course they had been gone for a while, so they started having children.
Sure.
So on my little street, there was at least 4 or 5 kids my age to play with.
Wow.
And I had a sister 3 years younger, and she had lots of kids to play with.
Wow.
And we did crazy things. You know, we'd have parades, and we'd have block parties, and they just...
Did y'all play tag football in each other's yards and things like that?
We didn't play tag football, but we played a lot of wiffle ball and stick ball.
That's why you're so good at pickleball now.
Well, I wouldn't say I was good at pickleball.
Yes, you
I
are.
worked at it.
Yes, you are. So you had at one point 5 kids in your family and 2 adults, and
yes, and a grandmother who came to live with us for a while. In 1961, she came to live with us, and she passed away in 1965.
That was nice.
So,
to have that multi-generational family thing.
Yeah, it was nice, except when she died, I got her bedroom, and I didn't really want to live in her bedroom. But, you know, as things worked out, you know, my father said, you want your own room? That's the one you get.
I understand.
So,
were you the oldest?
I was the oldest.
Okay.
I still am the oldest.
You still are?
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so So you got your own room, though.
I got my own room. It was very, very small. But at least I didn't have to share a room like the other kids did.
Right.
So, which was nice. I could sneak in and out as I wanted to.
Oh, okay. There's some stories.
There's lots of stories there, but that's for another time.
So who did the cooking in your house, Mom or Dad?
My mother, she stayed home.
She a good cook?
She was a great cook. Look at me. She was a great cook. My father worked two or three jobs.
Okay.
Because he first started out as a New York City policeman, but then as the kids came along, the hours were better to be a New York City fireman. So he was a fireman, he washed windows, and he drove school buses when it was raining.
Wow.
So we didn't see a whole lot of him.
Right.
But you know,
Like a lot of people we know now, they have
Yes.
a job, but then they have a side gig that they.
Oh yeah,
that they
yeah. He
do.
had two
So
side
they-
gigs,
he had two
so
side
he was
gigs.
gone
Wow.
most of the time. My mother was really the disciplinarian,
Ooh.
and she was tough.
What was her toughest? What was her when she got upset with you? What would she yell at you? Or?
Well, it depended on what you did. I can give you a couple of stories that my mother used to do the laundry, and she would stick it on the stairs and tell you to take it up.
Sure.
Well, if you didn't take it up in 24 hours, that laundry would be out in the front yard. One time I came home from school in a snowstorm, and I saw my clothes going down the street. She had thrown them out in the snow. And then she said, from now on, you wash your clothes.
Oh, well, that's a good lesson.
Well, that was a very good lesson.
Not a lot of yelling, just a consequence immediately.
Well, she yelled that first day. I told you to take those up there, and when you didn't take them up, second day, that was it. They were gone.
Wow. Did she have any kind of specialty dishes? Did she make a good spaghetti sauce? Or
She was Irish, but she made a great spaghetti sauce that I still use today.
wow.
Or
See, there's
lasagna
something,
as well.
Lasagna.
there's something about that area of the country that they know how to make that kind of spaghetti sauce, and it's kind of infamous in that area.
Well, you had a lot of Italians and a lot of Irish
Yeah.
there in that town. So
Interesting.
she made a great spaghetti sauce. Like I said, I still use
and
it
you
today.
still use it.
Yep.
Cooked
Wow.
for about 24 hours. It's
I
delicious.
cooked the
Yeah,
sauce for
because
24 hours.
overnight. Yeah.
Let it
Well, that's
simmer.
excellent.
So
And your dad, what did it? Well, he worked a lot, so there's.
he worked a lot. He besides going to church, he wasn't there a whole lot. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
know,
he was working.
He was trying to
5 kids?
provide for 5 kids.
Exactly.
You know, in a town where the taxes were extremely high.
Oh yeah.
But you knew he loved you, even though he was working all the time.
Sure.
There was no doubt about their love for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you excel at as a kid? What were you good at?
Getting in trouble.
Did you pull pranks on people, or were you just sneaking out at night?
Sneaking out at night and smoking cigarettes and I probably shouldn't say this, but you know, having a beer or two here or there. Yeah.
I don't think you're alone there.
No.
But then, were you in sports? Did you play sports?
I played football and I played soccer and I ran track.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's what I did in high school.
Did you and your dad follow any teams up there, like Yankees or?
Well, I was a Yankee fan and a New York Giant fan.
Okay.
Okay. But my father he didn't do anything with sports.
No
He didn't
time.
know about sports. So I was about 9 or 10 years old. I said, who should we be rooting for in college football? And I could see him, he was unsure of what to even say. So I could see the wheels turning, and finally he said, every good Irishman roots for Notre Dame.
Well, that's right.
So I've been a Notre Dame fan ever since.
That's awesome.
Unless they play Georgia.
Yeah.
And then I'm a Georgia
Well,
fan.
okay.
All right.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So-
And Bobby, what about you? You were not born here either.
No, but I lived in Georgia my entire life.
Okay, a Georgia girl.
Yep. I was born in South Georgia, Albany, pecan capital of the world, pecan, peanut
What do they call
capital
it
of the
now?
world.
Albany. Do they call it pecan?
Pecan. And it's Albany if you're in
Albany.
Albany. And also the peanut capital of the world.
Oh, I didn't know the peanut capital. Well, there's
was.
only one way to say
It may
peanut.
not be now, but it was when I was growing
Okay.
up. And
What was that like besides a little hot?
Well, it was
humid?
very hot, very humid. I had to teach John when you go down there with the gnats, it's a, you know, because he's like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I tolerated that. We didn't even have air conditioning until I was in 6th grade, but it's when I go back now, I can hardly tolerate it. I guess because our lives are in air conditioning,
Yeah,
our cars, our houses, our work. But I grew up there, was initially part of a military family. And my father was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I really don't have any recollection of him. He was a paratrooper, and he was killed in a plane crash at Fort Bragg when I was 2 years old and my brother was 1 year old. So my mother was 20 and was a widow.
Goodness.
And I think a lot of people think that I'm kind of tough sometimes, but I think I got that from my mother because my entire life she would say, Bobby Joan, you're probably going to fall in love with someone, but you have to be able to take care of yourself because you never know what's going to happen. And so,
because at 20 with two little
two
kids.
children, that's right. So she came back to Albany from Fort Bragg, and we moved in with my grandparents. So they absolutely helped raise us. And then, you know, some years later, 4 or 5 years later, she remarried. My stepfather had been in the Air Force, and he was a wonderful father. I mean, he's the father I know, and you know, he's gone now, but he raised me. So I was very blessed to have that. But it's funny to say this, but I always knew that I was going to leave Albany and probably never come back. And I don't mean that in a derogatory manner toward Albany. I just felt like there was so much more, and there was a need in me to be around water and to be around mountains, and Albany's flat. Okay, it's just a very flat thing. So as a junior in college, I transferred to Georgia. And my degree was in journalism. I majored in public relations, and I loved it. It was the best experience I think I've ever had in my life. And I tell people, I say, if you want to talk about a culture shock, imagine being brought up Southern Baptist, very fundamental Baptist, a Rainbow Girl, which was a Masonic order for girls, and I was in that from 12 until I was about 18. I was very active in school things, but imagine that's the only belief system you've ever had, and that's our social life was church, 100% church, which was great. It's a great foundation. You know, Wednesday night, training union, prayer meeting, Sunday morning, Sunday school and church, Sunday night, and then I had GAs on Mondays. So the first day I ever walked into the University of Georgia campus, it was just kind of like an unbelievable experience because there was a Vietnam War protest going on. There was a gay rights parade going on, and you know, of course, Georgia football, and I'm like, and just to be exposed to so many people with so many different belief systems, I had not been prepared for that. I just thought everybody had the same belief set that I did. So it was a great, great experience to experience other cultures and other religions and nationalities and that type of thing. So, and I was fortunate. I tell people I've never had a job interview in my life because when I was a junior in college, I competed for and got an internship with Southern Bell Public Relations. Now, I'm going to really age myself here, but I was responsible as a junior in college for doing the last direct distance dial conversion in the state of Georgia. It was in Greensboro, Georgia. Let me tell you, that is where you dial. This is how old. This is where you dial 1, the area code, and the number. Where before, people had used the operator. So all of Georgia had converted to this except Greensboro, Georgia. So here I was, like 18 years old, and I was in charge of that.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's when I fell in love with a small town. Because I knocked on every door of every resident. I had a parade downtown. I did presentations to businesses to show them how much money they could save over dialing the numbers themselves rather than operator handled calls. And we do printouts and show them their savings to buy toll-free lines for their customers and foreign exchange.
So you were out and about at 18 selling to businesses. Where'd you get that kind of confidence? Was that your mom's toughness or your
I think it was that, and I think it was school experiences. As you know, we all encourage our children to try to take leadership positions and to be active, and I think just the whole school background and I did oratory, like Latin oratory and that type of thing.
Were you in student government and things like that?
Yes, I was.
I can imagine that, right? I mean, you're a student body president probably.
So, and when I was at junior college, I wanted to run for secretary of the student union, and John met my dad before he passed. He was so creative. So I needed a gimmick, I needed something to get votes. And, back then, most positions were male. Okay, so I was trying to compete against several guys running for the office. So my father actually, I wish I had it today, found an old barbershop chair. And he cleaned it up. It was in beautiful condition. And I shined shoes for votes. And
how clever.
We crept out there in the middle of the night at midnight and put a huge banner against what was then called Albany Junior College. Then it became Darden. Now I think it's part of Albany State, and it had my sign up and everything. So it was a lot of fun and a good experience.
So nice.
But
it's a great father-daughter memory.
Yes, it is.
That
yes,
is fantastic. And you had a younger brother.
Yeah, I have two younger brothers.
You have two younger brothers. Okay.
The one that's 13 months younger than me, and then I have my half brother that was from this mother. My mother and this stepfather.
The stepfather.
Right.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. So that's good, and they must have been really proud of you. Unlike your husband, John, who was out sneaking out and smoking cigarettes.
Exactly.
Did you
have
ever
different childhoods.
Yeah, you probably never got in trouble.
No,
right?
I never got in trouble. I was the oldest child. Thought I had to excel in everything in school, and I knew that I wanted to go off to college, and I wanted to make sure I did everything to do that because no one in my family had ever gone to college.
Oh wow!
So anyway.
So you made them proud, and your younger brothers knew that they had it easy because you blazed the trail.
Oh, my brother that's 13 months younger than me just hated me because he followed behind me in every class and was like, so he rebelled. He actually became a John. He actually had a lot of good times.
A junior John.
Yeah, exactly. But he ended up. I'm very proud of him. He has a master's in criminology and a master's in business, and he's been a probation officer and a parole officer, and then worked for the Marine Corps over labor relations.
So he's been quite successful.
He settled down.
Yeah, my sister was like that. She was 2 grades ahead of me in school, and the teachers all remembered her, and she did every homework assignment exactly right, and she never spoke out in class, and they never had to get on to her. And then they would say, "Oh, you're Claire's sister," and I would go, "Oh no," because I was a chatterbox, and
I would speak out, and I may have had excellent grades, but I did have a lot of remarks about talking too much. So,
we were just social, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly. We're very social, very social.
Well, John was too, I'm
yes.
sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So John, you got out of high school. You graduated when you were still in Long Island.
Yes.
And then where'd you go from there?
From there, I went to work in a little department store. I worked in ladies' lingerie. Okay.
Was that by design, or did you just apply and they said
I applied for a job, and that's where they sent me. And it was the worst job I have ever had in my entire life, because they'd be these older women.
Be careful. Be careful. What we used to do was older.
In the dressing room, and they'd be going, Sonny, come in here and help me hook this thing. No, ma'am, I'm not allowed in the dressing room. But I'd have to put out all the garments on the racks, and it was just like they should have hired a woman for that job in ladies' lingerie.
You think?
Put me in the men's department.
Yeah, exactly.
Or giftware or something.
Especially if they're calling you into the dressing room to hook.
Oh yeah.
And bring them another size or anything like that. Oh.
So then,
that's funny.
When I was 20, I got a job with New York Telephone Company.
Okay.
So I went to work for them, and about a year and a half later, I put transfer papers to go to 4 different places, and I said, whichever one comes through first, I'll take.
Wait a minute. Why would you want to leave Long Island?
Well,
you just want to see the world?
Have you ever spent a winter on Long Island?
No.
On a telephone pole?
On a telephone pole?
Yeah, so you were the guy outside.
I was outside. I was a cable splicer outside.
Okay.
And you had to be working 7:30, and you may not get there till 9:30, depending upon the snow, the traffic, and it just got old.
Yeah.
And I was never going to get transferred out close to my house because of they do that by seniority, and it would take me 25 years. So I put a letter to go to Atlanta. Houston.
Let me go someplace else.
Yeah.
So you had Atlanta, Houston,
a place in California, and another place in the Midwest.
Well, you had to you didn't get to pick, right? You just...
They would allow you to put in 4 letters, so I put 4 letters in.
Okay.
3 weeks later, I was...
Gutsy. Gutsy.
Oh yeah, not really. I just wanted to move.
But you were young, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Very young,
I was 22.
Okay.
So about 3 weeks later, my supervisor came out on a Wednesday afternoon at 2:00, and he said, "Your transfer came through." And I was like, "Great, where am I going?" He said, "Atlanta." I said, "When do I report?" He said, "Monday morning."
And this was Wednesday.
This was Wednesday afternoon. And I said, "Can I have the next 2 days off?" And he said, "Yes." And I packed the car and came. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. So you packed a car and you drove it all the way down
I drove
to Atlanta,
down here.
not knowing anything about...
Not knowing, and I found found my way to the work center.
Yeah.
And looked around and saw what was around. And
At 22, that's pretty good.
I was already married.
Oh.
Okay, I just got married.
Not to Bobby.
Not to Bobby.
So you and your wife came down.
No, I came down.
Oh.
We had gotten married in June.
Okay.
My transfer was September the 10th of that same year. We just got an apartment and just got it all freshly painted and ready. And then I moved, and she didn't come until February of the next year.
Yeah.
Tell Tina where you lived when you first came down here. This is funny.
Oh, this is not good, but I'll tell her. The ladies' room had a couch in it
In the
at the work
center.
center. Okay?
Yeah.
And the men's room had a shower.
Oh.
So I would leave like everybody else at 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, I would come back. I would take a shower. And I'd sleep on the couch in the ladies' room. And then I'd get up real early and leave, go eat breakfast, and then come back to work.
And now, did they know?
that? No, they didn't.
This is while he was looking for apartments,
That's why I
trying
was
to figure
looking
out
for
where
an
to
apartment
live.
and asking
what?
people what part of town should I even
Yeah,
look
because
at.
Atlanta's huge and you might end up in the wrong side of the track.
So I wound up in Clarkston
Okay.
about a month later.
Okay.
I got an apartment.
Okay.
I'll never forget, a 2-bedroom apartment, wall-to-wall carpeting, and a dishwasher for $150 a month.
Wow.
I was in all getting.
I bet you were. No more ladies' room sofa. And
No more ladies' room sofa and no more
Men's room
sneaking
sofa.
around.
Poor women.
Wow.
I think
Did anybody ever catch you?
nobody ever really caught me. I believe that a couple of the supervisors kind of knew what was going on,
Yeah.
but as long as it was kept under wraps,
Yeah.
they didn't say anything because they knew I was aggressively trying to find a place to
Yeah,
live.
you're a young guy with a wife and you've just transferred in. You don't know where to go, so they probably did look the other way.
Yeah, they
Nowadays,
were-
they'd have security cameras. You could never get away with anything.
exactly.
Oh yeah,
Doors and
back
everything.
then we didn't.
No, none of that. Well, so you got your apartment in Clarksville, and then your wife came down, and then you stayed with the phone company.
I worked for the phone company for 37 years.
Wow, fantastic! And you started with the phone company and
Right.
retired with them as well.
Yes.
It's
When I
almost
had
unheard
that,
of now to have one job through the whole
we're
career.
dinosaurs. When I had that internship, they said, when you graduate from college, you have a full-time job. So I never had a job interview in my life.
How
So
great!
I worked with them. We have 72 years between us, so we are dinosaurs.
Yes. Well, yeah. They got their money's worth out of y'all.
They
But you
did.
saw a lot of changes in telephones in
Absolutely.
that time. So
Absolutely.
you probably didn't do the same job every day for 37
No,
years.
no,
And
I
where
was
did you
fortunate.
start in Bell's House?
I started in Athens.
Okay.
And because my husband at that time he was a Vietnam vet.
Okay.
And so he was going on the war,
Yeah, the GI Bill.
GI Bill. And so we had to wait till he finished. And so then he got a job with Georgia Power in advertising, and I had a job with Southern Bell initially kind of in public relations. So we both put our transfers in to go to Atlanta, and I spent the rest of my career there.
Okay.
So, but all over Atlanta, just like John. I've worked at Lenox, I've worked at Perimeter, I've worked in downtown, I've worked at the corporate headquarters,
Yeah,
the
you were
state
all over, too.
headquarters, the area headquarters, in the line, whatever. But it was a wonderful opportunity.
Where was your first place in Atlanta that you lived?
I lived, coincidentally, in South Harrison, off South Harrison in Stone Mountain.
Gosh, y'all were neighbors.
And we didn't know it.
And
You didn't know it. But you didn't
eventually-
know each other then.
No, eventually moved to Cobb County, Marietta, and I probably moved 3 times within a 3-mile radius, unlike John, and lived there for like 30 years.
Wow. Okay.
3 times in East Cobb.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So you spent your 20s and your 30s, and I don't think I've ever asked you how long you've been married.
We have been married for 12 years. We got
Okay.
married on the lake in 2006.
And Judge Selma Cheeley, who's no longer with us, married us.
I remember Judge Cheeley.
She did.
Special woman. Gosh, that was lucky. Well, we jumped way ahead. So 20s, 30s, 40s, you were working hard and
Having children.
having kids, and you both have kids. And how many kids, and where are they?
I have one son who is 41, and he lives in Cannon, Georgia.
But he's just moved.
He just moved here. He lived, when his mother and I got divorced, she moved him to Houston, Texas when he was young. And then when he got to be, I think it was 18, 19, he decided he'd come back to Georgia.
Okay.
And he's lived here in Georgia ever since.
And been in Cannon just a couple of years,
He's been in Cannon since January. He lived in Cumming before that.
So pretty close. How great is it to have him so close by now?
It's really, it's fantastic because we've rekindled a better relationship. You know, and we talk every day. And
that's great. He has a farm, doesn't he?
He bought 16 acres. And he has 2 horses, two miniature horses, 6 goats, 4 ducks, 6 rabbits, 4 big dogs. I mean, big dogs, a Great Dane, a Great Mastiff.
Wow.
And 4 cats.
He's just about got Noah's Ark over there,
yes.
doesn't he?
Or McDonald's.
And then and 3 kids.
Yeah.
And 3 kids. Well, there's never a shortage of anything to do on a farm, so I guess you do get to see him quite often.
Yes, yesterday I was over there helping him put a new belt on his 0-turn lawnmower, and so there's always something to be done over there.
Yeah. How about your kids, Bobby?
I have a son that turned 33 yesterday, and he lives in Beaufort. And then I have a son that's 37 that lives down in the Tampa, St. Pete area.
Oh, nice. So one close by and one you get to visit.
That's right.
At a fun
Neither
place.
are married.
Okay.
So,
well, cool. And so you have one, as I said, here, and then you have one you get to go visit, but in touch with everybody, and they come up a lot, I'm sure, because mom and dad on the lake, not too shabby.
Right. That's an enticement. Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, so you were both in Atlanta, and tell how, if you want to, how it was that you met. Obviously at work or work related, right?
Yes. Bell South had decided to start a startup long distance company.
Okay.
It was small, and it was out at Perimeter Center out off of 285.
Okay.
And Bobby went out there to help them get this small company off the ground, and so did I.
Okay.
So we met.
Now, how many people are in this?
200 employees.
Okay, so it's not like there's only a few of you.
Right.
It's a sizable.
Employees. And the way Bobby and I really met was on Fridays. Bobby would do a management has left the building type thing, and she would play music, and they would dance. But
I had permission from the CEO to do it as a morale booster.
As a morale
booster.
Had a big boom box.
But she needed some men to come over, so I would bring some of the men from Network over, so we dance with them 2:30, 3 o'clock on Fridays.
Fun.
And we had to do that because I was in IT at that point in time, information technology, and we were working sometimes 7 days a week. We were working around the clock to get the launch of long distance.
Oh, wow.
So you had to have a little break or have something, and I would see these pictures, and there'd always be this guy in the back, and I'd say, "Who is that?" And they'd say,
"That was me."
"Oh, that's some guy from Network." So you want to tell them how we met after that?
Well, I'll tell them. Yeah.
So
what happened was.
Wait, give us the music soundtrack. Give us the background soundtrack. The 80s. What are we talking about? 90s. What kind of music? What song do you remember?
It was more 80s.
80s.
It was more dance music. Dance music.
I went there in
Michael Jackson
98.
Thriller.
I went there in 98.
Yeah, some of that, yes. She went in 98. I got there in 2000.
Okay.
Okay. So, we both liked older music and dance music.
And I love soul music, so there's a lot of that.
A lot of soul music.
A lot of Aretha.
Oh yeah.
A lot of old music.
We just need the soundtrack in our minds for the story of how you met. Okay.
Both of us big Jimmy Buffett fans.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Both of us big Jimmy Buffett fans. So I decided that I would like to go out with her.
Because you saw her and you said,
I liked her enthusiasm and her, you know, and outgoingness. So
plus she's a knockout.
Yes.
So, yes.
No.
well, she is to me. So
Of course. And then you saw him in pictures and you thought, you were saying, who is that that's always in the back? But you were really probably thinking,
she
No, I didn't want to date. I had been
gonna tell you
divorced
those-
13 years. I didn't want to
you
date.
were over that stuff.
I'll tell you the story.
Okay,
We'll
tell
talk
the
that
story.
later.
So I asked her to go out with me.
Okay.
And she said no. So
Were you hurt?
no.
No.
So a few days later, I saw her leaving the building. So I went out and I said, "There's a group of us going out. Would you like to go have a drink?" No. I said,
You were
"Okay."
tough.
I was not interested.
So then I found myself waiting around till she left.
Which were
kinda
inconsistent hours. I worked very long hours.
She worked late and I got off at 5. But I'd wait around till 7:30 until she was leaving the building, and then I'd leave the building. And I'd go out and talk to her. So you could say I kind of stalked her.
I always wondered, how does this guy happen to be here? Whether I left at 7 or 9, I was a workaholic. That was kind of my life, that and raising my sons. And no matter what time, it's like he'd just pop up there. And he told me later he would stay at the door until I got home.
So I started walking out. So finally,
Tell about appearing at my house.
wait a second, I'll let you tell her.
All right.
So finally, I got her, they were having a going away party for somebody who has been out there working. And so I waited and I saw her and I said, "Listen, we're having a going away party for so-and-so over at Rendezvous. Why don't you come over and have a drink?" "Okay." I said, "You know, maybe we could dance."
But I didn't drink. So
But she didn't drink, and she didn't dance with me either.
I would,
she
but I
can.
danced with everybody but him.
So then I got to talking to some of the people that worked for her, okay? And they kind of helped me out. So then I'll let you take it from there.
So did
'cause-
they kind of run interference and go,
Well, they kind of told me
Don't give
where
up.
she
Where
was, and
was.
what she
Where
was
I was.
doing. and-
oh, they were giving up your location?
So like, I'll tell you, so like on a Saturday afternoon, I showed up at her house because they had a storm and she was taking limbs, and they told me that she was trying to take these limbs and put them in the pickup truck. So I showed up and said, "Oh, I was just driving by." I was like, "Oh, what you doing?" She lived on a dead end street.
And he didn't live anywhere close by.
So I got out and started helping her with the limbs, you know. And then the next time she had a dead battery, and I came over and
It just
with the
happened to be in the
charger,
neighborhood with the with the
with the charger,
thing to
and
charge.
charged the battery for her.
You are the king of romance.
And then the next time I showed up, she was out in the yard and she had a boom box up the
long extension cord.
And I pulled out, got out of the car, walked over to her, grabbed her hand, started dancing.
That's when he had me.
Oh, yeah, you
So-
had to get worn down because that's nice
I
stuff.
wore
That's
her down.
that is, but you also must have opened up to it because being a single mom raising
Yes.
2 boys and doing everything yourself
Right.
must
right.
have been exhausting at times.
Exactly. And I had decided that I didn't need a man, I needed a pickup truck. So I had bought this red King Cab Silverado, and so I thought that's all I need to haul my pine straw and put these limbs in the back. And so that's what I was doing. Had the music going, I was swinging these big pieces of limbs and trunks, up into the back of the car, and I was all sweaty, had a baseball cap on. When he started dancing with me in the street and all my neighbors were watching, I thought, I guess I'll date this guy.
Aww.
But, and I'll just tell you, Tina, candidly, I had a lot of trust issues.
Yeah.
My first marriage was not a good marriage, and there was abuse in the marriage and domestic violence, and that's one reason why when I did retire, I volunteered here with the Domestic Violence Board for 6 years and chaired it for 3.
See, you just never know who
What a
struggles
person
with
has been
that.
through.
Right.
Right. And I was fortunate because a lot of people say, well, how can someone that has an education or has a good job or have resources be a victim to that?
Right. You were no victim. You were successful, right?
And so, but fortunately, I did have the resources to eventually get out of it. But it
Like
took
your mom always
took
said.
many years, and it took many efforts. Laws were not as favorable then. There were no stalking laws, so
Thank goodness.
if something happened and you called the police, if they couldn't catch the person doing it right then, they couldn't do anything.
Oh, boy.
So, and I won't go into all of
tough.
that, but
So no wonder your doors were slammed shut.
Exactly.
You didn't need all that.
Right.
But I hope.
Wow.
So,
But you pried them open.
And John loves to play, and I was a workaholic.
You were
there was a
serious.
lot of downsizing going on over a course of some years. My department went from 6,000 to 600, and so you're just driven. You think, well, I can't just be in the top 10%. I need to be the top one because I'm the financial support for these boys. And so I would, but he just said, I'm going to take a pontoon boat out and I'm going to be on Lake Lanier. We have a bunch of people. You want to go? So I learned to get some more balance there.
Yeah.
And have a good time. And
I
play
taught her how
and
to have a
balance
good time.
that with
Did.
without work and just my family. And my sons were older then, so they didn't need me as much.
Sure.
So anyway,
But you had to really learn how to kind of let go and enjoy
Yes,
yourself because you've been so driven for so long.
exactly. Driven is a good word because I have been driven.
Yeah.
So
So then
So the door was open
the door
and you
was
began
open
to
and
date.
we started to date.
Yeah.
And then we had dated for, I guess 1.5 years, 2 years.
Okay.
And we decided that we were going to buy some lake property.
Because you loved the lake, right?
We
You
both loved the water,
Mhm.
and I've always had a boat.
Okay.
So we bought property in Lake Wedowee, Alabama.
Nobody wants to go to Alabama. No,
exactly,
I'm biased.
except for John's sister.
Well,
I'm biased too. I'm biased too.
my sister had property on the lake, and
Well,
I had
that
a
would be a
cousin.
good reason. Sure.
So we bought a piece of property in the same cove with my sister.
Okay.
Okay. We never really, we walked on it the day we bought it, and we walked on it the day we sold it. And in between then we didn't because we'd go to my cousin's house. Well, in the interim, a friend of Bobby's that she had known for 30 years at that time, they were the first marketing instructors at Bell South.
First female.
Okay.
Sales instructors.
Had a lot on Freedom Heights Drive in Hartwell. Okay. So they invited us up and we stayed at the Jameson Inn because they didn't have a house. They just had lake property, a boat, and a dock.
Okay.
So we came up 3 or 4 times, and there was a piece of property 3 doors over from them that was for sale. And Bobby, we would drive by there, and she says, I want that. I said, no, we're going to Wedowee, Alabama.
I never even looked at anything else. I want that lot.
So one day we come up, and there's a for sale, a sold sign on it or something, and a little tear came down her eye, and I was like, oh. So we went over to Jerry and Marianne's Sunday afternoon. We're sitting on the dock, and they're all 3 of them. You need to move up here, friends, blah, blah, blah. I said, so we're riding home that day, and I said, listen, if you can find out who owns the property, if you can get it for this figure, okay, I'll go in and buy it. We'll buy because we weren't married at the time.
Oh, okay.
We'll go in and buy the property and sell them at Wedowee. I figured she'd never find them.
There was no name.
never-
Nobody knew the last name. They just knew it was a husband and wife, and they were real estate agents somewhere out of Athens.
And the internet 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't go on and find people
So-
like now.
I knew what they wanted for it, and I knew the price I set for it, and I said, no way. So we go home, I go to my apartment, she goes to her house. We get up Monday morning, she goes to work, I go to work. 10 o'clock, my phone rings, and it's Bobby. I say, hey, Bobby. She says, I found the owners, I made them an offer, they took it, you in or out? And I went, you're kidding me. Nope. I said, well, I told you I'd be in, I'm in. So we wound up buying the piece of property that we live on now.
Oh, that's cool. Now, was there a house or was it land?
It was just land.
It was just land. Okay.
So
So how'd you break that to your sister?
It was
she
meant
was
to be.
not very happy.
I'm sure.
But we sold Wedowee,
Okay.
and we started building. She said, when we sold Wadawi, she said, well, do you want this to be like Wadawi where we walk on it the day we buy it? I said, no. So I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll buy a big camper. I had access to telephone poles. We'll build a pole barn. We'll put the camper in there, and we'll stay in it, on the weekends and stuff.
Sure.
And then when we retire, we'll have this camper. And she says, I'm not living in any camper. So we wound up building a 1-bedroom,
Just a little small
cottage.
a little cottage.
garage attached.
We had 2-car garage and 680 feet of living space. And we stayed
Perfect,
in it every weekend.
Perfect. Life was simple then.
Oh, yeah.
So we
680 feet, that's not really big. There was a lot of closeness there in that cabin.
yeah.
There was one room, and it was the laundry room. The pantry had one little pantry and the closet. But we thought, boy, it was
And the
so
wash and
simple.
dry.
And the wash machine, it was laundry room.
And so every Friday after work, did you head up 85?
We would head
Come
up.
up,
Enjoy the weekend? And
when we first started doing it, we'd leave at 4 o'clock on Sunday, then it was 5 o'clock, then it was 8 o'clock, then it was like get up at 5 o'clock Monday morning and drive in, then it was get up at 7 o'clock and drive in.
I remember those drives. We did the same thing. We would somehow try to get our weekend a little longer and our weekdays a little shorter.
Well, when you come right off of 85, we'd go do the whole Walters Road thing, Junction 77 Walters Road. And I could just feel myself decompressing. You just like, okay, here it is.
Funny you said that. When I used to come up and I would get off the Livonia exit and I would roll all my windows down in the car. I don't care if it was 90 degrees outside or if it was 20 degrees outside, and I would tell my parents, the air changes up here.
Yes.
You can tell the difference in the air. And so I would leave my windows down halfway to Hartwell and just breathe, because you say, you just start to
decompress.
And then later when Bo and I married and we would come up together, he had the same experience, that your blood pressure goes down a little.
Right.
The further away you get from there and the closer you get to
out of that Atlanta traffic.
Yeah.
So
So your cottage lasted you a long time on weekends then. And you came up and you met people. You probably socialized a little
met
bit.
the people on our street.
Okay.
And that became our core social life.
And that's a great neighborhood you're in.
We were all within 5 years of the same age, and some of them were part-timers, weekenders, and they didn't know anyone. None of them were from Hartwell, and so we would make our own social lives.
Sure.
And it might be a bonfire, it might be a cookout, or whatever. So
Hay rides.
Yeah.
great friends.
Any excuse to have a party.
I love it. Because you probably didn't have all of the things that you had in Atlanta, the cable TV, the telephone, and all those distractions. So when you were up here, you looked for things social to do.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Now, how long before retirement? Because did you retire at the same time?
No.
Oh.
We built the cottage in 05.
Okay.
Bobby retired in 07. Okay. And she came up one day and said, I'm going to start building the house. And I said, I think we need to sell the Marietta house first. She said, I'm going to start building the house. So I said, okay. So she took about a year with the builder. There were no plans. They got some paper and pencil, and they just started drawing, and they figured out our house. And it was done in May of 2008. I started in 7 and finished in May of 2008.
Okay. And were you here most of that time in the cottage?
Stayed in the cottage.
Wow. And so you're up here going, no, the windows go here. And this
she get her tape measure out. She said, this wall is 5 inches too long.
Exactly.
And this is not right. And this is not right.
So great.
May 2008, the house was ready. I retired and moved in.
You just walked
What a
into
party,
it,
man. What a great day that must have been.
It was.
Oh, it was.
When you were able to walk out of there and get your Marietta house taken care of. And
no.
And we had married in 2006.
We had married in 2006.
Okay.
So,
Well, y'all packed a lot of things into a lot of changes in a short period of time.
We dated 6 years total before we got married.
The Marietta house hung around for an extra 5 years.
Well, '08 was the beginning of the recession. Is that
Yes,
what, yeah.
and I had a son living there. I didn't want
Okay,
to sell
yeah,
it, so. But
So you
anyway,
didn't sell the Marietta
It's gone
house,
now.
but-
It's
yeah,
gone now.
okay.
So.
But you got
5
to
years
walk out
later,
of
it
there.
got gone.
Yeah.
It's probably good though, because if you'd sold it in '08, the
Right.
values were going down. So
Well, and
probably a blessing you waited.
it was Party Central for Marietta, we heard.
A little remodeling had to be done.
Well, yeah, a little
anyway.
freshening up of things. So, how happy were you when you drove that last time after retirement to join Bobby? That must have just been so exciting.
It was extremely happy.
I had worked for this year on this house, and it's like, and then he drives up and says, "I'm going to have the summer of my life." And I went, "What?"
Yeah. She said, "You're going to get a job?" I said, "No."
Part-time job.
A part-time job. I said, "No, I'm going to have the summer of my life. I'm not working for this whole summer."
Well, yeah, because you'd been working since you were 18 years old.
exactly.
So
yeah.
now I'm in
Both
the
of us have.
10th
Summer
of my life.
It never happened. It never happened.
I love it.
And I've been having a wonderful time.
So when you got here, you knew people on your street, and then what was it like to transition from being a weekender to a full-time? You'd had a year head start, but you were busy with the house. So I know one thing about you guys: you are always active. You do not sit home and just withdraw. You're out and about. So tell me about that.
Well, I probably was a little too intense to begin with because emotionally I wasn't ready to retire. I mean, we were very young. when
Yeah,
we
because
retired. I
you
was
started so
55.
young.
I was
and then-
55, and I probably wouldn't have retired, but AT&T, it was described as a merger, but it was really a hostile takeover of Bell South. And so things that I had worked on for 10 years or 20 years, I was having to rip out and put in legacy systems because the greatest preponderance of their systems that covered the most customers were those. And I think my boss, I never met him. He was in Chicago. It was a different company. And every boss that I had above me was gone. Anyway, so I wasn't emotionally ready. So I basically, Tina, took my little type A personality at the time and just repurposed it. And it took me, 5 years, John, to realize, looking at my calendar, that I was working just as hard, but not being paid for it.
Sure.
But I was on too many.
But you were
boards.
just as driven.
In
too
your
many.
retirement. So I've backed away now.
Because you were on everything.
I've got more balance, and Bill Laird, who everybody knows and loves, talked me into chairing the chamber. I did that for 2 years, and I was chairing the domestic violence. And
So what's the first thing you sought out when you got here? Did you seek out opportunities, or did they come to you?
Some of both. Selma Cheeley
decided that Bobby was going to work for domestic violence. Not
she was
work
very
for, volunteer.
And you didn't say no to her.
No, you did not.
And she said,
So-
"Bobby, you're going to chair this." And I went, I wasn't even living here
How did
full-time
you
when she
meet Miss
started.
Selma? How did you meet Judge Sheila?
Girls' night out.
Yes.
And I've actually met her to get her to marry us. That's the first time I met her.
yeah.
But she was a very inclusive person, and she said, "I want you to go to Girls' Night Out. I want to introduce you." And that was the way she was with everybody.
Isn't that wonderful?
I just loved her. I just
And
absolutely
I went on a
loved
few
her.
of the girls' night out with the
Right.
with the gals that she was around, and she was a delight.
She was.
And all of
She
her
was.
friends
She
were
was.
as well.
But that's
So
kind of
that's
how I
you
got involved.
into domestic
And then I
violence.
naturally, I kind of was interested in the chamber. I didn't necessarily want to be the chair, but I did because I thought, well, I can bring my business background
Sure.
there and a PR background and do some
It's
good
a perfect
there.
match.
And then I was approached to be on the board of assessors. When things weren't going very well, and they were changing out the staff and changing out the board, and I was asked to participate in that. It wasn't a pleasant experience. It was a productive experience, and we
Yes.
feel like we accomplished a lot. But it was tough. It was tough, and then I had a group of people ask me if I would kind of head up the Friends of East Blost and try to get that thing going. But I've backed off from a lot of things. I work with Leadership Heart. I'm a facilitator there, and my Leadership Heart class that I was a member of started the first Leadership Heart youth class in 2009. So I've worked with that ever since. And right now, Kim Pierce very capably is the primary coordinator for both of those, Leadership Heart.
What
and
a
Leadership
great
Heart Youth.
opportunity for young people too.
Yes, and she is representative of what that program is about.
Okay.
To bring on leaders, facilitate leaders who will invest in Hart County and will remain in Hart County. And as you know, she's on the Board of Education now as well. So we're very, very proud of her.
Yes, that's great.
And now I'm on Archway, which is really kind of a leadership team for Hart County that kind of sets the vision and the strategies and partners with the University of Georgia, and on the College and Career Academy Board.
That is great.
That's my passion.
And I want
right
to come
now.
back to a couple of things that you said. And John, how did you get out and about? Because you're involved as Bobby, but in very different things.
Well, when I moved up here, I had a friend that I worked with at Bell South, Robert Ray, who has since moved on. He got me involved in Golden K.
Oh.
He said, you need to come to Golden K with me. And I was like, I don't know, Rob. He said, you need to come to Golden K. We built handicap ramps to be right up your alley.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So I went to a couple of meetings, and then I started as a mud man. I mixed cement for the posts that hold the ramps up. So anyway, Robert got me started there. And then I worked for Habitat House. I built 4 or 5 Habitat, not myself, with a group. Worked on 4 or 5 Habitat houses. Then I did pickup and deliveries for the Northeast Council on Domestic Violence for a while.
Pickup and deliveries, like
Donations.
We would have donations, or somebody needed a bed.
Sure.
I would take it from the warehouse and deliver it to the client. Okay. And now I do Meals on Wheels.
Call bingo.
I call bingo at the Senior Center.
You do?
Oh, yeah. And I've been the president of Golden K 3 times now.
Wow.
And I'm still the president.
That's fantastic.
So
you each brought your skill set. Bobby, yours in leadership, and John, yours in hands-on
service too.
Knowing how to do everything, which is a great thing, and applying to places that need it. And Golden K truly does build handicap ramps for free, right? For people that need it?
We'd like people to make a donation
if they can.
They can. But if they can't, we will build them a handicap ramp.
That's amazing. That's a great service. Between the two of you, there are so many things that you do and that you're knowledgeable about. If somebody is getting ready to retire or has extra time on their hands, how do you go about volunteering? It's kind of scary for some people to just walk out and say, hey, I'm here, what can I do? What's the best advice you have for people who might be interested in helping out someplace?
You want to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's so many opportunities. I would suggest to someone that they might want to consider joining the Service League.
Okay, Heartland Service League.
They might want to start as an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
You don't have to have a leadership role. You don't have to be on the board, but the Chamber looks for ambassadors.
And what does an ambassador for the Chamber do?
Well, an ambassador will help with events.
Oh, okay.
We have, with the Antique Boat Show, we have, Cars and Guitars, and we have the Triple Crown of Watercross and the Christmas Parade.
So you might be directing parking or selling tickets or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Or helping to decorate for something, or working the information table at the Chamber. The Downtown Development Authority. I've seen particularly many women who did not know anyone become involved in the DDA, and they have an immediate social group. It's a very inclusive group, and they focus on Main Street, and they focus on the downtown of Hartwell, where the Chamber is city and county-wide, and economic development and tourism as well. So that's an organization. There are 4 garden clubs that if that's one of your interests, then certainly you could be with like-minded people on that.
Sure.
And out of those garden clubs, as you know, Tina, spawn bunco groups and mahjong groups, and now we're also so fortunate in Hart County because we have significant arts. We have, for a town our size, we have 2 theater groups, the Hart County Community Theater and Savannah River Productions. We've also got High Cotton, which is phenomenal. I tell everybody it's comparable to me to Eddie's Attic in Decatur, or down in Atlanta. and the talent that we get because of the uniqueness of the place being a listening room. So the performers know they're going to have your attention, that there's not going to be tables and people eating. The acoustics are wonderful. There's something about the history of the place, I think, that comes through in the music. So we have High Cotton. We probably have live music now at 5 places on a weekend where we used to have
the marina, the boathouse grill,
none.
the swamp.
And then like Golden K, if you're like 55 or
we have
older.
the Arts Center too.
I'm a docent, a substitute docent at the Arts Center.
Something else somebody can
and the
do.
Botanical Gardens.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that's a wonderful group that needs support, and they do a lot of social things. And the Friends of the Library. So I would say, first look at what your interests are, and if it's reading and book clubs, then look at the Friends of Library. If it's gardening, let's hook up with the Botanical Gardens. Okay. If it's arts and theater, in the newspaper and on Heart Cable, it talks about the upcoming productions, and it talks about opportunities to try out. So this city and this town runs on volunteer hours. Okay, because we're relatively small. But if you think about, I really believe volunteers are Hart County's greatest capital asset. Because, people give so much, and they have the time in their lives to do it. They're not raising their children. They're not working. They're not spending 3 hours a day commuting. So there's a lot of time to give back.
That's right.
And you build friendships as a result of that.
Yes.
It's not unusual for us to get a phone call or a text that says, hey, they've got music now at Hartwell Marina on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. Do you want to boat over there or drive your car over there, and we'll sit on tables and have some great food? And so there's just a lot of opportunities like that. And things are spontaneous, I guess because it's casual living as well.
So no reason to sit home and be lonely.
None at all.
Not here.
And we need mentors in the school.
Sure, exactly.
If someone's been a retired teacher or has a good education, there are children that need mentors, and there's programs you can do in school to help mentor them.
So many things we can.
It's limitless. It really is. And I'd say get involved in a church if that's your belief, because there's so much community outreach through our churches here.
Yes,
and I just love the fact that I see this interdenominational ministry that crosses all religions here in Hart County, and how they work together, for the good of the community.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's what I was going to speak about, because they do a thing once a year, and they bring all of the groups together. Golden Cape participates in it, Kiwanis, and so you can walk around and see what each group does.
The Hart Interdenominational Ministry at HIM.
And see what's going on in Hartwell. And if you're looking to volunteer,
it's a great idea, John.
There's somebody there to tell you what they do.
Is this what they do at the Y sometimes?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called HIM.
HIM, Hart Interdenominational Ministries.
And all it is to bring all the groups together.
All the nonprofits.
All the nonprofits. And if you're interested in volunteering to do something, you'll find it there.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
Now, to close up here, we just have a couple more minutes. Both of you have such a positive attitude. It's one of the things that everybody loves about the two of you. So, secrets to this. We live in sort of negative times, I guess. So, how do you keep your great dispositions and your good attitudes and that kind of thing?
Go ahead.
Well, I believe it's because of the community here. I think they're positive. Everybody I meet is happy to be here.
I agree with you about that.
Everybody's willing to help everybody.
Yes.
If you have something go wrong, 15 people are going to call and say, "Can I come help you?"
That's awesome.
So to me, that's what.
So it's here. It's
here. It's this town.
Yeah. Okay.
And its members.
Yeah.
And I think it's recognizing that we're blessed. We have a beautiful town. We've got a beautiful resource in the lake and in the people. It's certainly scenic. And I think every day we all have bad times in our lives. But I think waking up every day with those positive affirmations as to what is so good in our lives. Somebody says, "Oh, well, you worked very hard for that." It doesn't have to do with work. There are people that work very, very hard across the world, and they weren't born into the circumstances we were, or they don't have the gifts that we have and the blessings.
Yeah.
So, it is a blessing. And I think we're lucky and we're fortunate, and just to recognize that every day and to give back, because that's where joy comes from.
Good
is
point.
in giving back.
Excellent point.
That's what I like.
There's a unique experience or a feeling, a joyful feeling that comes from giving and being of service to others.
That's great. That's why I love you guys. You're so fabulous. And thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
today. This
Tina.
has been so fun.
I want to just say one thing.
Yeah.
Bobby was right. Moving here was the best thing.
There you go.
Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway.
Thanks for being with me, and thank you, Wes Bailey, for your directing. Thanks, Randy Daniel and HeartCom, for letting us come here today. Join us next week for Community Conversations.
Thank
Thank you, Tina. We had a fantastic time.